This Fox News alert now. A U.S. appeals court will revisit the criminal case against baseball's home run king Barry Bonds over his alleged steroid use and whether he lied about it. Let's bring in our legal panel. Kent Zimmermann is a legal analyst and a contributor to National Law Journal. Lise Wheel, of course, you know, our Fox News legal analyst. So Barry Bonds, it would appear, is in trouble again. He had dodged a bullet for a while, but not anymore.
Well, he's got another bite at the apple is really what this is about. It doesn't mean he's going to win. He's still in trouble, but he could try to overturn his conviction
He's
again.
got one more chance. This is it. I mean, the three-judge court said, look, you can try it en banc, which means all the judges in front of him. I think it's 11, actually. So he's got one more chance, and then that verdict will probably stand.
But they're not going to be hearing testimony about the case itself. They're going to be deciding issues of the law.
This is all on the paper versus people actually testifying.
So we're not going to be hearing more testimony about the steroids and the cream and the clear and all that kind of stuff.
No, the Ninth Circuit's just going to see if the lower court made a mistake, but it's going to be relatively formulaic is what I would say.
All right, let's talk about another superstar athlete who's in trouble, the Oscar Pistorius murder trial. It's focusing on ear witnesses today. An acoustics expert for the defense concedes under cross-examination that neighbors could have heard the terrified screams of his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp, on the night she was shot to death. That supports the prosecution's claim that the couple was fighting before Pistorius opened fire. So what about this? The prosecution did a pretty good job of establishing that even though this witness was called by the defense, there had been new construction, new houses built in between the neighbor's home and Pistorius' home.
And we're going back to, again, old testimony here. That neighbor's testimony was one of the first things that the prosecution puts up. You know, yes, it was a woman. And then the defense came back and said, well, you know, Pistorius, when he gets nervous or scared, can sound like a woman, which really I don't think is going to go over that well with the judge. And again, in this defense is just not going to go over well.
And I don't know, it would seem that the prosecutor got the witness to admit that common sense kind of tells you one voice from another.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's typically easy to tell if it's a man's voice or a woman's voice. There were two things that came out, though, that were helpful to the defense, and I would just point those two themes out. The first is it became clear that Pistorius was actually making plans with Reva 7 days before this shooting happened. He made plans to take her to Brazil. He also made plans to take her to Manchester. And the story that they're telling the judge is, look, he didn't want to kill her. He wanted to make future plans with her.
Except that you're absolutely right. But that evidence is coming from, who is it coming from? His agent. You would expect his agent to be able to get on the stand. And I'm not saying the agent is lying, but he put any kind of favorable gloss on this.
You know, what I would say is, it's not going to be rebutted. I'd be surprised if it's rebutted. And also, there was an additional piece of news that came out that's helpful to the defense, and that is that Pistorius, you know, he has a trigger-happy, concerned sensibility about him, was the story that came out on the stand today. There was a story about how his mom slept with a gun under her pillow because she was so concerned about robbers when he was growing up. There's a story about how when he was in New York, he was jumping and would grab people if he heard a sound.
Okay, and there was also, what came out also was that the defense, remember, it was all, you know, this went away for 30 days because he was undergoing psychiatric diagnosis by an independent psychiatrist. That person came back and said, that doctor came back and said, no. I mean, he absolutely knew what he was doing right from wrong at the time of the accident or murder, whatever you want to call it.
He thought there was a robber in the bathroom, and he believed that he was trying to defend his family from a robber.
Right.
That's his story. I think it's going to be very difficult, though, for the judge to say, because of the shakiness of the evidence that it was premeditated, I think it's going to be difficult to convict him of premeditated murder. I think it's more likely he'll be convicted of what's called culpable murder.
Right. Sort of a secondary degree murder, yes.
That trial that was supposed to be open over months ago is becoming, you know, our version of the O.J. Simpson case. It just goes on and on and on. Kent Zimmermann, Lise Wheel, thank you both.
Thank you.
Shannon.